The key turned with a sound like breaking glass. I remember that the metallic click that split my life into before and after, my hand on the brass doorknob, cold, so cold it burned, and the way the hinges whispered as I pushed, not a creak, a whisper like the house itself was trying to warn me, trying to tell me to turn around, to go back downstairs, to preserve the life I thought I had for just one more blessed, ignorant moment. But I didn't. The door swung open. The air hit me first, thick, warm, carrying the scent of his cologne mixed with something floral and young, her perfume, the one I'd complimented just 3 weeks ago when she'd worn it to our Sunday brunch. What a lovely fragrance, I'd said, smiling at her across the table while my daughter beamed beside her best friend, happy we all got along so well. The afternoon light slanted through the bedroom window, golden and gentle, painting everything in honey-colored lies. Dust motes danced in the beam. I watched them float, suspended, and thought absurdly, isn't that beautiful? Then I saw them, my husband, Logan, 46 years old, graying at the temples in that distinguished way that made me fall in love with him at a dinner party 19 years ago, his back to me, shoulders eyed, massaged countless nights when work stress nodded his muscles, skin-eyed, traced in the dark, and her Madison, 24 years old, my daughter's best friend since college, the girl who'd spent Christmases at our table, who'd cried on our couch about bad breakups while I made her tea, who'd called me her second mom with such apparent sincerity that it made my heart swell. They were on the bed I had made that morning, the sheets, Egyptian cotton 800 thread count, the set I.S. splurged on for our anniversary were twisted around them like accomplices. Time did something strange, it stretched and compressed like a long, struggling to breathe. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. Couldn't even properly process what I was because my brain kept trying to rewrite the scene into something acceptable, something explainable. Maybe I'm misunderstanding, maybe this is a misunderstanding, maybe. She turned her head, Madison, she looked directly at me. Our eyes met across the room, across the wreckage of my marriage, across the canyon that had just opened in my chest. She smiled, not a gasp, not shock, not shame or horror or the frantic scramble of someone caught doing something unforgivable, a smile so deliberate, curling at the corners of her lips like smoke, her blue eyes, my daughter's best friend's eyes, the eyes I'd looked into with trust and affection, held mine with something that made my blood turn to ice water. Victory, that's what the smile said, that's what it meant. I won. Before we continue, please write in the comment which country you are watching this video. We love knowing where our global family is tuning in from, and if this is your first time on this channel, please subscribe. Your support helps us bring even more epic revenge tales of life. Enjoy listening. 6 weeks earlier, life was normal. That's what I keep circling back to in the nights I can't sleep, which is most of them now. How completely, utterly, devastatingly normal everything seemed, how the mundane details of existence continued their steady march while the ground beneath me was already crumbling. Logan and I had been married for 18 years, together for 19. We met when I was 23 and still believed in the kind of love that songs are written about. He was 28, confident, successful in commercial real estate with a laugh that filled rooms and a way of looking at me that made me feel like the only woman in the world. For years, I was the only woman in his world. Or so I believed. We built a life, a beautiful life. We had Marlene when I was 25, a daughter with my dark hair and his green eyes, smart and kind and everything we could have hoped for. We bought a house in a neighborhood with good schools and tree-lined streets. I worked as a freelance graphic designer from home, which meant I could be there from Marlene while still maintaining my career, my identity beyond motherhood. We were happy, weren't we? That's the question that haunts me now. Picking through the wreckage of my memories, like searching through rubble for survivors, were we actually happy? Or had I just been skilled at telling myself we were? The distance crept in so gradually I didn't notice. Or maybe I noticed and chose not to see. It started small, Logan coming home later from work. Reasonable, he was closing big deals. The market was competitive. His phone tilted away from me when he checked messages. Understandable client confidentiality. Boring work stuff I wouldn't care about anyway. The way he'd shower immediately when he got home before even greeting me properly natural. He liked to wash off the day, Always had brittle things, tiny things, things that any reasonable, trusting wife would explain away, and I did, God. I did everything okay. I'd ask over dinner, fine, just work stress. He'd smile, reaching across the table to squeeze my hand, nothing to worry about, so I didn't worry. I pushed down the small voice that whispered something's wrong and focused on the life we'd built. Marlene had just graduated from college and was living downtown, starting her career in marketing. Logan's business was thriving. We were planning a trip to Italy for our 20th anniversary next year. We had couple friends, weekend plans, inside jokes that spanned decades. We were fine until Madison started coming around more often. Marlene and Madison had been inseparable since their sophomore year of college. Madison came from a difficult background, parents who divorced messily, a mother who moved out of state and barely kept in touch. She attached herself to our family with the intensity of someone starving for stability. And I welcomed it. I felt for this girl who'd been dealt such a war hand. I wanted to provide the maternal warmth she'd been denied. Your mom is amazing, she'd tell Marlene right in front of me. Her voice honey sweet. You're so lucky. I'd smile, warmed by the compliment, never seeing it for what it was, a survey of the territory she started dropping by even when Marlene wasn't home. I was in the neighborhood, she'd say, all sunshine and innocence. Thought I'd say hi. Logan would be home those afternoons working from his home office, and I'd make coffee for the three of us, chat about her job search, offer advice about navigating the adult world, playing mentor, playing mother, playing the fool. Madison's a sweet girl, Logan said one evening after she'd left. She is, I agreed, loading the dishwasher. She's had it rough. I'm glad we can be there for her. He came up behind me, wrapped his arms around my waist, a rare gesture lately. I leaned back into him, grateful for the affection. You have such a good heart, he murmured into my hair. I remember smiling. I remember feeling loved. Now I remember it differently. Now I know what he was really thinking as he helped me. Now I understand that every tender moment had become a performance, that I was loving a ghost, while he was already somewhere else with someone else. The signs multiplied, a new cologne spicier than his usual thought. I'd try something different, he said when I commented on it. The gym membership he suddenly started using religiously, getting back in shape, he explained, patting his stomach, not getting any younger, the way he'd angle his phone away during dinner. Fingers flying over the keyboard with the kind of focused attention he used to reserve for conversations with me. Who are you texting? I asked once, trying to keep my voice light, casual, not wanting to be that wife. Just Mike, about the Thompson deal. Mike was his business partner. The Thompson deal was real. The explanation was plausible. I wanted to believe him. So I did. 3 weeks before I opened that bedroom door, Marlene invited Madison to Sunday brunch. We went to a new place downtown. All exposed brick and artisanal everything. Marlene was excited about a promotion possibility. Madison had just started a new job as a social media coordinator. Logan was in a good mood, joking and engaged in a way he hadn't been in months. I remember thinking, this is nice. This is a skidding back to normal. Madison wore a floral perfume that day, light, feminine spring. Like when she hugged me hello, I caught the scent fully. What a lovely fragrance, I said. What is it? Joe Malone, she said. Peony and blush suede. It's beautiful. She smiled at me. Then she looked at Logan. Just a flicker of a glance there and gone so quickly I almost missed it, but I didn't miss it. And even then, even with that little alarm bell ringing somewhere deep in my consciousness, I explained it away. She was young. He was a handsome older man. It was natural for her to seek male approval, especially given her absent father. It didn't mean anything. I repeated this to myself, like a mantra, like a prayer. Like if I said it enough times, it would be true. 2 weeks before the door, Logan came home with flowers. Lily's my favorite. No special occasion, just because. What's this for? I asked, genuinely pleased. Do I need a reason to buy my wife flowers? He kissed me, really kissed me, the way he used to. And that night we made love, and for those brief moments, I thought we'd turn a corner, that whatever distance had grown between us was closing, that we were finding our way back to each other. I fell asleep with his arm around me, feeling secure for the first time in months. I didn't know that lilies are also funeral flowers. I didn't know I was sleeping next to a stranger wearing my husband's face. 1 week before, I noticed a text notification on his phone while he was in the shower. The phone was face up on the kitchen. I wasn't snooping, it was just there. The preview on the lock screen said "Can't wait for tomorrow." Same time, no name, just a phone number. My hand hovered over the phone. Every instinct screamed at me to unlock it, to look, to know, but I couldn't, because looking would mean I didn't trust him. Looking would mean I thought my husband was capable of. I walked away. "Who's texting you about tomorrow?" I asked when he came out of the shower. Towel around his waist, hair dripping. Tomorrow. He looked confused. Then, "Oh, probably Mike. We're meeting with a potential investor." The message seemed casual for business. He laughed. "Mike's a casual guy, you know that." I did know that Mike was casual. The explanation made sense. I let it go that night. Logan said he had to work late the next day. "This investor is only available after hours," he explained. "Might not be home until 9 or 10. "Hey," I said, "you don't mind?" "Of course not. Work is work." He kissed my forehead. "You're the best." The day of the day that would become that day, the day I'd be forever divided from. I woke up with a headache. One of those tension headaches that starts at the base of your skull and wraps around your head like a vice. I've been having them more frequently. Stress, I told myself, just stress. Marlene called that morning. "Mom, can I stop by later? I want to show you some furniture options for my apartment. I'll be home all day." "Come whenever. Love you too, sweetheart." Logan left for work at 8. "Kiss me goodbye. See you tonight. Good luck with the investor." "Thanks, babe." Then I rushed and left for work because I was already late. I worked through the morning, a logo redesign for a boutique hotel. The work was good, engaging, but I couldn't focus. I felt headache persisted. Around 2 o'clock Marlene called again. "Hey Mom, I'm so sorry, something came up at work. Can we do the furniture thing tomorrow instead?" "Of course, honey. Tomorrow works. You're the best. Love you. 3 o'clock. My headache was worse. I decided to go home and rest. I packed my bags and left. I got home and head upstairs to lie down for a bit, maybe sleep it off. I took 2 aspirin, changed into comfortable clothes, was heading toward the guest bedroom. I didn't want to mess up our neatly made bed when I heard it, a sound from our bedroom, a soft sound, almost nothing. The kind of sound you'd normally ignore, but I didn't ignore it. I stood in the hallway, head tilted, listening. My heart started beating faster without knowing why. Another sound. Definitely from our room. Maybe Logan came home early. Maybe he's sick. Maybe I walked to the door, put my hand on the knob. The key turned with a sound like breaking glass. They say that in moments of extreme trauma, time slows down. That your brain processes everything in hyper detail as some kind of evolutionary survival mechanism, fight or flight. Except I couldn't fight and I couldn't flee. I could only stand there frozen in the doorway while my entire world crumbled in slow motion. Logan turned his head, saw me, his face. I watched it transform through a dozen emotions in the span of a heartbeat. Fear, guilt, calculation. The calculation was somehow worse than all the rest. CLA, my name in his mouth, sounded like a lie. But Madison didn't move except to turn her head and smile. That smile, I understood everything in that smile. Every answered question I'd been too afraid to ask, every instinct I'd suppressed, every doubt I'd explained away. Every small betrayal that had paved the road to this moment. She knew I'd come home. She'd planned this. This wasn't an accident I'd stumbled upon. This was a performance, and I was the intended audience. The sound that came from my throat wasn't a scream, it was smaller than that, quiet. A sound like something breaking underwater, like drowning. I stepped back 1 step. "Who, Claire?" "Wait." Logan was scrambling up, reaching for clothes, for excuses. For any possible version of this that wasn't exactly what it was. I closed the door, stood in the hallway, my hands still on the knob, my body shaking so hard, I couldn't tell where I ended, and the trembling began, footsteps behind the door. Frantic movement, low voices, his panicked, hers calm. I walked away down the stairs. Step felt like moving through water, through concrete, through some substance heavier than reality. My hand on the banister, I focused on that, the smooth wood under my palm, something solid, something real. The front door, I reached it, put my hand on it. then stopped. Where would I go? This was my house, my home. For 18 years this had been my sanctuary, my safe place. The structure that held my life together. And he brought her here, into our bed, the bed where we'd made love, where we'd held each other through nightmares, where I'd nursed him through the flu, where he'd held me the night my father died, letting me sob into his chest until there were no more tears left. That bed. I turned around, walked to the kitchen, filled a glass with water, using hands that shook so badly. Water spilled onto the counter. I tried to drink, couldn't swallow. Set the glass down. The kitchen looked exactly the same as it had this morning. Some light through the window, the coffee maker I'd used hours ago, the grocery list on the refrigerator in my handwriting, milk, bread, chicken breast, laundry detergent, thermal, everything looked so criminally normal. I heard the bedroom door open upstairs, footsteps coming down. I stood very still. Logan appeared, pressed now, hair disheveled, his face, I couldn't look at his face. Couldn't bear to see the features I'd loved for 19 years twisted into this stranger's expression. Claire, his voice was shaking. Please let me explain, explain. The word came out flat. That it's not, this isn't. He ran his hands through his hair, that gesture I'd always found endearing. God, Claire, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. Madison came down the stairs behind him, fully dressed, composed. Her hair was slightly messed, but otherwise she looked perfectly calm. Like she'd just come from a casual visit, like she hadn't just detonated a bomb in the center of my life. She looked at me. Clara, I think I should go. You think the words came out sharper than I intended, than I'd ever spoken to anyone. You think you should go. She had the grace to drop her eyes. But only for a moment. When she looked back up, there was something else in her expression. Not shame, something harder, more deliberate. I'm sorry you had to find out this way. Not sorry for what she'd done, sorry for the way I'd discovered it, as if there was a better way to find your husband in bed with your daughter's best friend, as if there was a polite, painless method of having your life torn apart. Leave my house. My voice sounded strange, distant, like it belonged to someone else. She moved toward the door, fully deliberately, not scurrying with shame, but walking with measured steps. At the threshold, she paused back. Marlene doesn't need to know, she said quietly. We can keep this between us. The concern in her voice sounded genuine, might have even been genuine, but it was also strategic, calculated, a chess move disguised as compassion. How kind of you, I said, to consider my daughter's feelings. She flinched, finally, a crack in the composure. Then she was gone. Logan and I stood in the kitchen, husband and wife. Two people who'd promised forever to each other in front of everyone we loved, who'd built a life, raised a child, weathered storms, and celebrated triumphs and grown so intertwined I'd thought we were inseparable, but we weren't people anymore. We were a crime scene, evidence of something terrible. You were so disgusting. Right, did you ever think of your daughter's feelings? How long has this been going on, Logan? I asked. He closed his eyes. Claire, how long do 3 months? 3 months, 90 days, 12 weeks of lies, of him kissing me goodbye in the morning and hello at night, of us eating dinner together, watching television, discussing Marlene's career and the broken fence that needed fixing and what color to paint the guest bathroom. 3 months of him touching me while thinking of a small girl old enough to be his daughter, of making love to me, while remembering her, of sleeping beside me and dreaming of someone else. Where my voice was mechanical, now I was conducting an interview, collecting data. Besides here, where else does it matter? Yes, he slumped into a kitchen chair, put his head in his hands. Hotels, her apartment, the office, a few times, the office, his office where I'd brought him lunch, where I'd surprised him on his birthday with his favorite sandwich and a cupcake with a candle. She'd probably been there that day, probably hiding or maybe not hiding. Maybe brazenly present while I played the devoted wife. Did you laugh? I asked. He looked up. What did you laugh at me? 2 of you. Did you think I was stupid, naive, a fool? No God, no Claire, I never. He stood, moved toward me. I stepped back so fast I hit the counter. Don't touch me. He froze. I saw tears in his eyes, real tears. He was crying for what? His mistake, his guilt, or just because he'd been caught. I love you, he said. I know you don't believe me right now, but I do. I love you, this thing with Madison. It was a mistake, a terrible, awful mistake, but it doesn't change how I feel about you. Mistake 3 months was a mistake is forgetting to buy milk. Calling someone by the wrong name, this wasn't a mistake, this was a choice, 100 choices, 1,000 small decisions that all added up to betrayal. Why the word cracked in the middle? Why her? I don't know, that's not good enough. Claire, I don't know, she was young and she paid attention to me. And I was flattered and stupid, and he pressed his hands to his face. There's no good answer. There's no reason that makes it okay. Did you use protection? The question came from somewhere clinical. Some part of me that understood I needed to know but couldn't fully process why he nodded. Yes, always. How considerate. The laugh that escaped me sounded unhinged. You put my health at risk, but at least you used protection. What a gentleman. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Sorry, the word people say when they bump into you on the sidewalk, when they're late for dinner, when they accidentally break a glass, not when they break vows, hearts, families. Did you love her? I needed to know. Needed to understand if I'd lost him to something real or just to the thrill of something forbidden. No, don't lie to me anymore, Logan, please, just this once. Don't lie. You met my eyes. I didn't love her. Who? Physical, exciting, all the terrible cliches you read about, but I didn't love her. I love you, past tense and present tense, all tangled together. He didn't love her, he loved me. Both statements somehow managing to be true and completely meaningless at the same time. Just leave. I said, Claire, get out of my house, get out right now, or I swear to God, I will call the police and tell them you trespassing. This is my house too. Then I'll leave, I'll pack a bag and I'll leave, and you can stay here in our bed where you brought her. And think about what you've done, please. Let's talk about this. Let's figure out. There's nothing to figure out. My voice rose finally, all the numbness cracking to reveal the rage underneath. You brought my daughter's best friend into our bed. You've been lying to me and our daughter for 3 months. You looked me in the eye every single day in light. What is there to figure out whether you can forgive me? The audacity of it. The sheer breathtaking audacity. As if forgiveness was just a switch I could flip. As if 19 years of love and trust could counterbalance 3 months of betrayal and we could somehow reset to factory settings. I don't know, I said, honestly, I don't know if I can forgive you. I don't know if I want to forgive you. I don't know anything right now except that I can't look at you. Where do you want me to go? I don't care, Phil. Friend's house, your office, sleep on the street for all I care. He nodded slowly, defeated. He moved toward the stairs, him packing in the bedroom. Our bedroom that I would never be able to enter again without seeing them. I stood in the kitchen and felt my life rearranging itself. Everything I'd thought was solid revealed to be built on sand, 19 years sliding away like water through my fingers. He came back down with a suitcase, stood by the door. I'll call you, he said. I didn't respond. I love you, Claire, please believe that. Then he was gone. The house fell silent. Completely, devastatingly silent. The kind of silence that's so heavy it has weight. It pressed down on me until I couldn't breathe. I sat down on the kitchen floor, not because I meant to, as my legs just stopped working. I sat there on the cold tile floor in the house I'd made into a home, and I tried to cry. Nothing came. The tears wouldn't come. Maybe I was in too much shock. Maybe my body had used up its capacity for feeling. Maybe I'd gone somewhere beyond tears to a place where there was only numbness and the slow-motion replay of Madison's smile. That smile, I closed my eyes and saw it again. The curve of her lips, the look in her eyes, not guilt, not shame, triumph. She'd wanted me to see, she'd orchestrated the whole thing. The timing. When Marlene cancelled the unlocked bedroom door, maybe even the small sounds that had drawn me upstairs, she'd wanted me to walk in. The questions circled in my mind like a vulture. Why would she want that? What did she gain from me knowing? And then slowly, horribly, I began to understand. He wanted to take what was mine, not just Logan, not just the affair. She wanted to take my place, my life. To step into the role I'd occupied and prove she could do it better, younger, more desirable, more vital. She wanted me to see her winning. I don't know how long I sat there, minutes, hours. The light through the window changed from afternoon to evening. My phone buzzed several times. I didn't check it. Finally I stood. My body ached like I'd been beaten. I walked through the house like a stranger, seeing it all differently. Now the photos on the wall are wedding Marlene's childhood vacations and holidays and ordinary moments that had seemed precious. They all looked like lice in the living room. There was a picture of the four of us from last Thanksgiving: me, Logan, Marlene, and Madison. Madison had spent the holiday with us because her mother had moved to Arizona and her father was spending it with his new family. We'd welcomed her, made room at our table. I'd given her my grandmother's recipe for cranberry sauce in the photo. Logan's hand was on my waist. Madison stood next to him. Close, not inappropriately close, close. I looked closer at his face, at the slight angle of his body, at where his eyes were focused, not on the camera, on her. How had I not seen it? How had I been so blind? Or maybe I hadn't been blind, maybe I'd seen and chosen not to see, because seeing would mean acknowledging something too terrible to be real. My phone buzzed again. I finally looked. 11 missed calls from Logan, 6 text messages. Please talk to me. I'm at the Marriott downtown Claire. Please, I'll give you space, but we need to talk eventually. I'm sorry, I know that's not enough, but I love you. I deleted them without responding. 2 texts from Marlene. Hey mom. Still on for tomorrow. Love you, Marlene. My daughter, who loved Madison like a sister, who had no idea her best friend had been sleeping with her father, who trusted both of them completely. How was I going to tell her? My hands started shaking again. I couldn't tell her. How could I tell her? How could I put that burden on her? How could I make her choose between her friend and her father? How could I shatter her worldview like mine had just been shattered? I couldn't. But I would have to eventually, because Madison worked with Marlene, they saw each other constantly, they were planning a girls' trip next month. Madison was woven into Marlene's life as thoroughly as she'd been woven into mine. I typed back, yes, tomorrow works, love you too, sweetheart. The lies were already starting. The performance of normalcy protecting her until I figured out how to explain the unexplainable. Another text came through a known number. Claire, it's Madison. I know you don't want to hear from me, but I wanted to say I'm truly sorry. I never meant to hurt you. Please don't tell Marlene, it would destroy her. I stared at the message, the sheer gall of it. She was worried about Marlene being destroyed, she who'd spent 3 months sleeping with Marlene's father. She who'd smiled at me like a victor while my world fell apart. I typed back, you meant to hurt me. That's why you made sure I walked in. 3 dots appeared and disappeared, appeared again. I know you must hate me right now, you have every right to. But Marlene doesn't deserve to lose both her best friend and her parents' marriage over this. Both her best friend and her parents' marriage, as if those two things were equivalent, as if Madison's friendship was as valuable as 18 years of marriage. You should have thought of that before you slept with her father. I did, but it happened anyway. People make mistakes. That word again. Mistake, as if it was accidental. Oops. I tripped and fell into bed with your husband. My bad. I threw my phone across the room. It hit the wall with a satisfying crack. But didn't break. Of course it didn't break. Nothing was that simple. The next morning I woke up on the couch, still in yesterday's clothes. My mouth tasted like copper and my head pounded with a headache that had nothing to do with tension and everything to do with trauma. For exactly 3 seconds I didn't remember I was just a woman waking up on her couch. Slightly confused about why she was there. Then it all came crashing back. The bedroom door, the honey-colored light, Madison's smile. I made myself stand, made myself walk upstairs, past the bedroom. I couldn't go in there, not yet, maybe not ever, and into the guest bathroom, showered in water as hot as I could stand. Trying to scald away the feeling of violation, it didn't work. Dressed in fresh clothes, looked at myself in the mirror. The woman looking back was a stranger. Her face was pale, drawn, her eyes looked hollow, but she was still intact, still standing, still breathing. Fake it until you make it, I thought, then fake it until you figure out what you're making. Marlene was coming at noon. I had 2 hours to transform back into a mother, to put on the mask of normalcy and hide the fact that my insides had been scooped out and replaced with broken glass. I went downstairs, made coffee. The mechanical ritual was comforting. Scoop the grounds, pour the water, press the button, wait. Simple steps. Achievable goals. My phone had 17 new messages. I ignored them all. At 11:57 Marlene's car pulled into the driveway. I watched her through the kitchen window, my beautiful daughter. 23 years old, my greatest achievement, the one purely good thing Logan and I had created together. She was wearing jeans and a blue sweater that made her eyes even greener, smiling as she walked up the path so completely innocently happy. I wanted to build a wall around her to keep her in this moment before knowledge, before everything changed. Mom, she hugged me at the door, all warmth and energy. You look tired. Are you feeling okay? Just didn't sleep well. You know how it is. We sat at the kitchen table with her laptop, looking at furniture for her apartment, couches and coffee tables and bookshelves, all the things young people need when they're building their first real adult space. She was excited, chattering about her vision for the place. I smiled and nodded and offered opinions. And the whole time I was screaming inside, your father is cheating on me with Madison. Madison wanted me to catch them. Everything you think is real is a lie. But I said none of it. I played my part, the supportive mother, the life that no longer existed. Where's Dad? Marlene asked, casually, scrolling through dining table options. The question landed like a punch. Working big project. He's always working lately. She glanced up. Is everything okay with you guys too? Parav, she'd always been too Parav, of course honey. Why I don't know, you both seem distressed lately, distracted. It's just life, I said, smiling in a way that felt like my face was cracking. Nothing to worry about. She studied me for a moment longer than comfortable, then nodded. Faye, but you tell me if something was wrong. Right, of course I would. Another why they were coming so easily now, stacking up like bricks in a wall between us. We spent another hour on furniture. I ordered lunch, Thai food, her favorite. We ate and talked and laughed. And it felt like being an actor in a play where everyone else thought the script was real. As she was leaving, she hugged me again. Love you, Mom. You're the best. Love you too, sweetheart. I watched her drive away, then I went back inside and finally let myself cry. The tears came in waves. Violent shaking sobs that bent me double. I cried for the marriage I'd lost, for the trust that was shattered, for my daughter's innocence that I'd have to destroy, for the version of myself who'd woken up yesterday morning still believing in her life. I cried until there was nothing left, until I was empty and hollow and wrung out. Then I stopped, sat up, wiped my face, looked around the kitchen. Something was shifting inside me, something cold and sharp emerging from the wreckage. It felt like clarity, like rage, distilled into something pure and focused. I'd spent enough time being devastated. Now it was time to think. Madison had wanted me to see. She'd orchestrated my discovery, which meant this wasn't just about an affair. This was about power, about proving something, about taking something from me and making sure I knew it. I pulled out my lap, opened a browser, started searching. Madison's social media profiles loaded on the screen: Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I'd seen them before, of course, had liked her photos, commented supportive things on her posts. But I'd never really looked at them, not with this new lens, not trying to see what was underneath. I scrolled back through her Instagram. 6 months, a year, 2 years. The photos told a story. I'd been too trusting to read her at our house. Dozens of photos at our house, the Thanksgiving picture I'd seen yesterday. But also 4th of July barbecues, Christmas morning, random Sunday dinners, always positioned close to Logan in group shots. She'd somehow always ended up next to him. Photos from restaurants I recognized, places Logan had told me were business dinners in the background of Madison's carefully cropped selfies. I could sometimes see another table, another person I enlarged, one from 4 months ago in the blurred background, Logan's profile, his distinctive salt and pepper hair. For months ago, he'd said 3 months, so that was a lie too. Or maybe he'd lost track, maybe there had been so many lies he couldn't keep them straight. I kept scrolling back further to when Marlene and Madison had first become friends. A photo from their college days, a party, Madison front and center, gorgeous in a short dress, holding a red cup, laughing. The caption: sometimes you just need to find a better family. The comments were supportive, emojis. You deserve the best, love you girl. But I saw it differently now. The better family. She'd been looking for a better family and she'd found ours. Or maybe she'd found Logan. More photos. More evidence of a years-long integration into our lives. Birthday parties, casual hangouts. She'd been a constant presence, so gradual in her infiltration that we'd never question it. I found her active posts, her years. She met Lena, photos of a different Madison, harder, more rebellious. Clubbing photos and party pictures and captions about trust issues and broken people. Then 3 years ago, a shift, softer photos, more filtered, a conscious rebranding, right around. When she met Marlene, I clicked on her friends list, scroll through, stopped at a name that made my stomach turn, Logan. They were Facebook friends, had been for 2 years. I clicked on his profile, feeling like I was looking at a stranger's page. When had he accepted her friend request? Had he told me I couldn't remember? But why would I have questioned it? She was Marlene's best friend, of course. They'd connect on social media meant nothing except it meant everything. I checked their interaction. He'd liked dozens of her photos over the past 2 years, innocent likes, group photos, landscape shots, nothing inappropriate. But the pattern was there, consistent attention, regular engagement. Had it started online? Had she targeted him digitally first? Or had the online connection just been another tool in a longer game? My phone rang. Logan. I declined the call. He immediately called again, declined a text, appeared. We need to talk about what happens next. Please, Claire, I know you're angry. But we have to figure this out. What happens next? As if there was a roadmap for this. As if there was a protocol for rebuilding a marriage after you find your husband in bed with your daughter's best friend. I didn't respond. I kept researching LinkedIn, Madison's professional profile. Social media coordinator at a boutique marketing firm before that, various entry and little positions before that. A degree in communications from the State University where she'd met Marlene. I clicked on her connections, scroll through, stopped several people from Logan's company, not just Logan, his partners, his associates, his secretary. When had she connected with them? I opened a noob, searched Madison, Carter, and Logan's company name together. Nothing came up, but I kept digging. Checked the company's social media accounts there 6 months ago, a photo from a company charity event. Madison in the background, talking to one of Logan's partners. The caption mentioned friends and family in attendance. Had Logan invited her, as whose guest, as Marlene's friend, or as something else? The pieces were arranging themselves into a picture I didn't want to see. This wasn't just an affair. This was calculated, methodical. She'd been working her way into his life, into our life for years, building connections, creating opportunities, positioning herself. But why? What was the end game? I thought about her background, the absent mother, the father who'd remarried and started over, the childhood spent feeling unwanted and replaced. Then she'd met Marlene, who had everything Madison didn't: stable family, 2 parents who loved each other, financial security, emotional safety, everything Madison wanted. So she'd decided to take it, not through friendship, through substitution. She didn't want to be part of our family, she wanted to be me. The smile. That victorious smile made sense now. She'd won, she'd seduced my husband, she'd infiltrated every corner of my life, and she'd made sure I knew it because my knowledge was part of the victory. I had to see her winning, had to witness my own replacement, except she'd miscalculated one thing. I wasn't gone yet. I sat back, closed the laptop. My tears had dried, my hands were steady. Something crystalline and cold had formed in my chest where my heart used to be. I couldn't tell Marlene not yet. That would cause exactly the chaos. Madison wanted Marlene would be devastated, would probably blame herself, somehow, would be torn between her loyalty to me and her friendship with Madison. The family would fracture publicly, painfully, exactly as Madison had designed. If I was going to do this, I had to do it right. I had to let Madison think sheet one, had to let Logan think there was a chance at reconciliation. Had to keep playing my role while I figured out how to flip the script. I picked up my phone, called Logan. He answered on the first ring. "Claire, thank God I've been in. We should talk," I said. My voice was calm, measured, but not yet. "I need some time to process, a few days." "Of course, whatever you need, thank you. For I'm not promising anything, Logan. I just need to think. I understand. I'll give you space. But Claire, I meant what I said. I love you. I want to fix this." "I know," I said. Letting him hear what he wanted to hear, letting him think there was hope. "We'll talk soon." I hung up before he could say more. Next I did something that made my skin crawl. I texted Madison we should talk coffee tomorrow. Just us. The reply came within seconds. Yes, of course, thank you for being willing. What time? 10 a.m. The Greenhouse Cafe. I'll be there. I put the phone down, looked around my kitchen, my house, my life that had been violated and invaded and stolen, piece by piece. But it was still mine, and I was going to take it back, not through rage, not through public confrontation, through something more precise, more devastating. I was going to use their weapons against them, the deception, the manipulation, the calculated cruelty. If Madison wanted to play games, I'd show her what happens when you play against someone who has nothing left to lose. The Greenhouse Cafe was Madison's favorite spot. She told me that once, 6 months ago, over lunch. When she'd confided about a bad date, "I always feel better here," she'd said, "it's like my safe space." That's why I chose it to meet her in her safe space and take it away. I arrived 15 minutes early, ordered an herbal tea. I wouldn't drink. Chose a table by the window where the morning light would catch my face just right. I dressed to carefully navy sweater, minimal makeup, hair pulled back, the picture of a wounded woman trying to hold herself together. Everything was strategic now. Every choice a weapon. Madison arrived exactly on time. She dressed carefully too, jeans and a simple blouse, natural makeup, her hair down and soft, the costume of contrition. We were both performing. She saw me, hesitated by the door. I watched her take a breath, steel herself, then walk over. "Claire, thank you for meeting me." She sat down across from me, hands folded on the table. "I wasn't sure you would. I almost didn't. I'm so sorry. I know I keep saying that. And I know it doesn't fix anything, but I need you to know why I interrupted," keeping my voice soft, wounded, but searching. "Why did you do it?" She looked down. "I don't have a good answer. Try." Oh, she was choosing her words, carefully, deciding which version of the truth to tell me. I was lonely. He paid attention to me. It started innocently, just conversations, talking about life and work and family. Then it became more. By the time I realized what was happening, I was in too deep. It was a good story, believable, the kind of explanation that painted her as a victim of circumstance rather than an architect of destruction. When did it start? About 3 months ago, after the charity event for his company, the event where she'd been photographed in the background, the event she'd attended as his guest. But I didn't ask that, not yet. "How did you end up at that event?" I asked instead, as if I was just curious, just trying to understand. "Logan invited me. He said partners were bringing friends and family, and since Marlene couldn't make it, he thought it would be nice to have someone there who knew the family. Smooth, plausible, and maybe even true, depending on how she'd maneuvered that invitation. That was kind of him," I said. She nodded, took a sip of the coffee she'd ordered. Her hands were steady, no trembling, no visible guilt. Whatever she was feeling, she had it locked down tight. "What happens now?" she asked. "With you and Logan?" "I don't know. He wants to work on things." "Do you?" She leaned forward, slightly concerned, caring. "I know I have no right to ask, but do you think you can forgive him?" There was the real question, the one that mattered to her, because if I forgave Logan, if our marriage survived, then her victory was incomplete. She'd be relegated to a footnote. The affair Logan had gotten over, but if I left him, I don't know, I said, honestly. Part of me wants to. We've built a life together, but I don't know if I can ever trust him again. Trust is everything, Madison said softly. Without that, what's the point? She was encouraging divorce. Subtle but definitely encouraging it, planting seeds of doubt, making sure the wound didn't heal. "What about you?" I asked. "Do you have feelings for him?" She looked startled by the directness. It's complicated. Uncomplicated, a longer pause. She was deciding again how much truth to tell, how much to hide. "I care about him," she said finally, "but I know it can't go anywhere. He loves you. He told me that clearly. I was a mistake he made and now it's over." "Is it over?" "Yes, completely. I ended it yesterday after you found out. I told him we couldn't do this anymore." Noble of her, taking the high ground, positioning herself as the one who made the mature decision to end it. Never mind that she'd orchestrated my discovery, never mind the smile, that smile, I said, watching her face. What? When I walked in, you smiled at me. Her expression didn't change, didn't shift into panic or defensiveness. She just looked at me steadily. I was in shock, she said. I don't even remember. I wasn't smiling, I was horrified. Why calculated lie, but delivered so smoothly I'd almost believe it if I hadn't seen it myself. Maybe I misinterpreted, I said, backing down. Letting her think I was unsure, planting doubt in my own memory. Everything happened so fast. Claire, I promise you, I felt nothing but horrible in that moment. I still feel horrible. I've ruined everything. She reached across the table, put her hand on mine. The touch made my skin crawl, but I didn't pull away. I know this doesn't help, she continued, but losing you, losing your friendship, your trust, that's the worst part of all of this. You've been like a mother to me. Better than my own mother, and I destroyed that. I hate myself for it. The performance was flawless. Her eyes were shining with tears, her voice trembled. If I didn't know better I'd believe every word, but I did know better. What about Marlene? I asked. Madison pulled her hand back. Look down. That's what kills me most. He can never know. It would destroy her, destroy our friendship, destroy how she sees both her father and me. So you want me to lie to my daughter? I want you to protect her. There's a difference, is there, Claire? Please, I know I don't have the right to ask anything of you, but Marlene doesn't deserve this. He loves me, he loves her father, he loves you and Logan together. If this comes out, she loses all of that. Is that really what you want? It was manipulation dressed as concern. Making me responsible for Marlene's pain, framing the truth as cruelty and the lie as love. I haven't decided what to tell her yet, I said. Just think about what serves her best. Not what makes you feel better or what punishes Logan and me. What actually helps Marlene. I wanted to throw my tea in her face, wanted to scream that she should have thought about Marlene before sleeping with Marlene's father. But I didn't. I stayed calm, stayed in character. You're right, I said. I need to think about Marlene. Relief flickered across Madison's face, just for a moment, then concern again. How are you doing? She asked. Really, I'm devastated. I can't imagine if there's anything I can do. There isn't. We sat in silence. The cafe bustled around us. Normal people having normal mornings, ordering lattes and pastries and discussing weekend plans. Nobody looking at our table and seeing the wreckage. I should go, Madison said finally. But Claire, thank you for meeting with me, for listening. I know it doesn't change anything, but I needed you to hear how sorry I am. She stood, shouldered her bag. Looked down at me with those blue eyes that had never seemed cold until now. I hope someday you can forgive me, she said. Maybe someday, I replied. She left. I watched her walk out, get into her car, drive away. Then I sat there for another 10 minutes, sipping tea that had gone cold, thinking about everything she'd said and everything she hadn't. She was good, better than good. If I hadn't seen that smile, I might have actually believed her contrition. I seen it, and the truth was sorry. She managing the making sure I stayed quiet, making sure Marlene never found out, making sure that when I inevitably left Logan, because that's what she expected, she'd be positioned perfectly to step in, the concerned friend, the woman who understood him, the one who'd been there. She'd wait a respectable amount of time, 6 months, maybe a year, then she'd start seeing him openly. Marlene would be shocked at first, maybe angry, but Madison would frame it as something that developed later. After the divorce, after everything had settled, she'd say they'd found comfort in each other, that love happens unexpectedly, that she never meant for it to happen. Marlene would eventually accept it, because Madison was her best friend and Logan was her father, and what choice would she have? Madison would move into my house, sleep in my bed, host holidays at my table, become Marlene's stepmother. Eventually she'd have everything she wanted. My life perfectly transferred to her like a donated organ. That was the plan. I could see it so clearly, and I was going to burn it to the ground. I picked up my phone, made a call. Jenkins, private investigations. How can we help you? I need to hire someone, I said, for surveillance and background research. What's the situation? My husband is having an affair. I need documentation, everything, where they meet, how often, communications if possible. And I need a deep background check on the other woman. We can do that. When would you like to start? Today, the investigator's name was Tara Bennett, mid-40s, formerly NYPD, now running her own private firm. She met me at a coffee shop across town somewhere I'd never been. Somewhere Madison and Logan would never think to look. I read your initial forms, Tara said, sliding into the booth across from me. She was direct, professional, with sharp eyes that probably saw everything. Your husband and your daughter's best friend, that's complicated, that's one word for it. What are you hoping to get from this investigation? Divorce proceedings, criminals, just peace of mind? I don't know yet, all of the above. Maybe I just need to understand the full scope of what's been happening. She nodded. Makes sense. Here's what I can do: surveillance on both parties, documentation of meetings and communications if possible. Full background check on Madison Carter financial records if they're accessible, digital footprint analysis, the works. How long will it take? Depends on what we find. Surveillance starts immediately. Check. I can have preliminary results in 48 hours. Deeper dive takes longer. Do it. It's not cheap. I don't care. She quoted me a number that made my stomach drop. But I had my own money. I'd worked throughout our marriage, maintained my career, my independence. I'd never needed Logan financially, one of the things I'd been proud of. Now I was grateful for it. One more thing, I said. I need to know if there are others, other women, if this is a pattern. Tara's expression softens slightly. You think she's not? The first 3 months doesn't feel like a first affair. It feels like he's had practice. I'll look into it. Credit card statements, hotel records, phone logs, if we can access them. If there are others, we'll find them. We finalize the details. She'd start surveillance that afternoon. Updates every 2 days, everything documented, everything admissible in court if needed. When I left that meeting, I felt something I hadn't felt since I opened the bedroom door. A sense of purpose. I wasn't just a victim anymore. I was an investigator, a strategist. The next 2 weeks were an exercise in acting. Either wounded. Met with Logan twice for talks where I let him apologize, let him cry, let him make promises about counseling and commitment, and never stray again. I nodded, I listened, I even let him hold my hand once. All while Tara and her team documented everything. They were still seeing each other. Despite Madison's claims that it was over, despite Logan's tearful promises, they were still meeting more carefully now. Different hotels, always paid in cash. Burner phones that terrorist tech specialists managed to identify. They were being cautious, but not cautious enough. Tear-got photos, time-stamped, location tagged, undeniable. Logan entering a hotel room, Madison arriving 15 minutes later, both leaving separately after 2 hours. This happened 3 times in 2 weeks. Each time I saw the photos, something died inside me. Whatever small, stupid part of me had hoped he was telling the truth, that maybe it really had been over. That maybe remorse was genuine. He wasn't. He was still lying, still choosing her, still thinking he could have both. The background check on Madison came back more interesting than I'd expected. Tara handed me a thick folder. Your instincts were good. This girl has a pattern. I opened it, started reading. Madison's college years were more complicated than I'd known. She'd been involved in a scandal her junior year, an affair with a married professor. It had been hushed up, resolved quietly. But Tara had found the records. The professor's wife had filed a Title IX complaint. Nothing came of it officially. But the professor had been encouraged to resign. She was 20, Tara said, already targeting older married men with something to lose. It was more after college, before she'd gotten her current job. She'd worked briefly at a law firm, fired after 6 months. The official reason was poor performance, but Tara had talked to former colleagues. Madison had been involved with one of the partners, another married man. That time the wife had found out and issued an ultimatum. Madison was fired to save the marriage. She's done this before, I said, feeling sick multiple times. She targets stable, successful men in established relationships. Works her way in through legitimate connections, schoolwork, friends, makes herself indispensable, then strikes. Why Taru without a psychological evaluation? I can only guess. But the pattern suggests she's not just attracted to married men, she's attracted to what they represent: stability, success, family she didn't have. She wants to take what these other women have. She wants to be me more or less. and she's gotten better at it with practice. The professor, she was young and sloppy. Got caught quickly. The lawyer, she lasted longer but still made mistakes with your husband. She's been meta, building the relationship over years. Integrating herself into the family structure, making herself seem inevitable. I thought about all those holidays, all those dinners, all those times I'd welcomed her into our home, thinking I was being kind. She'd been studying me, learning me, preparing to replace me. There's something else, Tara said. She pulled out another document, her social media activity. My tech guy did a deep analysis. She's been scrubbing posts, systematically deleting anything that doesn't fit the image she's cultivating. Now, what kind of posts? Party photos, provocative selfies, anything that made her look less wholesome. She's been rebranding herself for about 3 years, right around when she met your daughter, creating a cleaner, more respectable online presence for meditation. All of it was premeditated. What about Logan? I asked. Has he done this before? Tara's expression turned sympathetic. Not that I can find. No pattern of affairs, no suspicious charges or hotel stays before Madison. Either he's been incredibly careful or she really is his first. I didn't know which answer I wanted to hear. First meant our entire marriage hadn't been a lie, just the end. Multiple meant I'd been a fool from the start. However, Tara continued, I did find something interesting in his finances over the past 6 months. He's been moving money, small amounts transferred to a separate account. Your name isn't on. My blood went cold. How much? About 40,000 so far. 40. I couldn't finish the sentence. It could be innocent savings investments, but combined with everything else, it looks like he's preparing for something. Maybe planning to leave, maybe setting up a nest egg for his new life with her. He was planning a future with her while still living in our house, sleeping in our bed, telling me he wanted to fix things. The betrayal was so layered, so complete, I almost laughed. I want everything, I said, every photo, every receipt, every record. I want a full dossier on both of them, and I want proof of the financial transfers, all of it documented and court-ready. You're filing. I'm going to do more than file. Part 7. The plan. I spent the next week planning like I was orchestrating a military campaign, every move calculated, every contingency considered. Logan thought I was still deciding about our marriage. I'd continued the illusion, meeting him for sad, quiet dinners where he'd hold my hand and promise to do better, where I'd cry just enough to seem broken, but not beyond repair. I'm trying. I just need more time. Take all the time you need, he'd say, believing he was winning me back. Madison thought I was protecting Marlene, keeping the affair secret to preserve my daughter's innocence. She'd even texted me a few times with concerned messages. How are you holding up? And thinking of you, and let me know if you need anything. I'd respond briefly, coolly, maintaining just enough contact to keep her thinking she was safe. Marlene still knew nothing. That was the hardest part, seeing my daughter talking to her, pretending everything was fine while this enormous truth sat between us like a wall. But I needed her ignorant, just a little longer. What I was planning required surprise. I met with a divorce attorney, the best in the city, Catherine Morrison, known for decimating unfaithful spouses in court. I want everything he's entitled to and nothing more. I told her I'm not trying to destroy him financially, but I want what's fair. And I want it documented that the marriage ended due to his infidelity. Catherine reviewed Tara's evidence, nodded approvingly. This is airtight. Multiple instances of adultery, ongoing deception, financial irregularities. You'll get a fair settlement, possibly more given his behavior. What about the money he moved? Will argue he was hiding assets in preparation for divorce. The court doesn't look kindly on that. We can likely get it returned, plus compensation. Good, that felt like justice. But the divorce was just the legal framework. It wasn't the real plan. The real plan was about exposure, about truth, about making sure everyone knew exactly who Madison was and what she'd done, not out of cruelty, out of protection. Because as long as Madison's pattern remained hidden, she'd keep doing this, keep targeting families, keep destroying lives. Someone had to stop her. I started collecting everything: T investigation, the background check, the timeline of her previous affairs, the deleted social media posts that T tech expert had recovered. Screenshots of messages between Madison and Logan that the expert had pulled from cloud backups. The messages were damning, not just sexual. Those were there too, explicit enough to make me want to vomit, but also calculating Madison discussing me. She suspects nothing. Madison discussing Marlene. She'd be devastated if she knew. Madison discussing their future. Once the divorce is final, we can be together openly. They've been planning this. Planning my exit from my own life. I compiled it all into a document, organized, chronological, undeniable. The night planned the reveal. Marlene's birthday was in 3 weeks. She'd been planning a dinner party, intimate, just close friends and family. Madison was invited, of course. Logan was planning to come. Even though we were separated, Marlene had asked me to please try to be civil for one night for her birthday. I'd agreed, told her I could be mature about it. The dinner would be at Marlene's apartment, casual but nice. She'd mention maybe 15 people. Perfect. I called Marlene. Honey, I was thinking, why don't we do your birthday here instead at the house? More space and I can help you cook, make it really special. Are you sure, Mom? With everything going on with you and Dad, it's your birthday. I can handle one evening. Besides, I miss hosting. Let me do this for you. She was hesitant, but agreed. Marlene had always loved parties at our house, our dining room, our backyard, the kitchen where she'd grown up. She wanted that comfort, especially now, with her parents' marriage falling apart. I spent the next 3 weeks preparing not just the party. The reveal I had. A tech friend helped me set up a presentation. The evidence organized into a clear, compelling narrative, photos, texts, time, wine, everything. I'd play it on the TV in the living room after dinner, before dessert, when everyone was comfortable and unsuspecting, maybe. But Madison had chosen cruelty first, had orchestrated my humiliation, had smiled while my life shattered. Turnabout was fair play. I also made sure certain people were on the guest list, Marlene's friends. Obviously Madison's COS worker, Marlene, worked at the same company. Now they'd naturally be invited. Logan's business partners. Marlene had met them at company events, considered them family friends, and I made one special addition. The wife of the lawyer Madison had been involved with. Her name was Patricia. She lived in the city. I'd found her through Tara's investigation, reached out through a carefully worded Facebook message. You don't know me, but we have something in common. I'd like to talk. We'd met for coffee. I told her my story. She told me hers. The pain in her eyes had matched mine. I tried to warn people about her, Patricia said, posted about it on some forums, but she threatened legal action, defamation. I had to delete everything. What if he didn't have to? What if there was proof? I'd shown her the evidence, watched her face as she recognized Madison's pattern, her methods. She's doing it again, Patricia whispered. God. She's doing exactly what she did to us. Help me stop her. And Patricia had agreed she'd come to the party as my guest, my friend. No one would know who she was until the moment of revelation. 3 weeks I cooked Marlene's favorite foods, decorated the house, played the gracious hostess planning her daughter's celebration. Logan came by to drop off a gift from Marlene a few days before the party. This is good of you, he said, hosting. Despite everything, Marlene really appreciates it. She's my daughter. I do anything for her. I know. He looked at me with something that might have been love, or might have been guilt. Claire, after the party, can we talk, really talk about our future? Sure, I said. Mill let him hurt. He left believing I was softening, that maybe reconciliation was possible, that his patient campaign of remorse was working. Madison texted, is it weird if I come to Marlene's party? I don't want to make things uncomfortable for you. I replied. Come, Marlene wants you there. I can handle it. You're amazing, Claire. Really, your strength through all of this is incredible. I didn't respond to that, couldn't trust myself to maintain the facade through text. The night before the party, I reviewed everything one final time. The evidence was airtight. The presentation was ready. The guests were confirmed. Marlene called excited about the next day. I can't wait. Mom, it's going to be perfect. It is, sweetheart, I said. It really is. I meant it, though not in the way she thought. The next evening, as guests began arriving at my house for my daughter's birthday party, I felt calm, eerily calm, the kind of calm that comes when you've made peace with burning everything down. Marlene was radiant, 24 years old, beautiful and kind and unsuspecting. She hugged me when she arrived. "Thank you for this, Mom, for being so strong always." Baby Logan arrived next, awkward but trying. We greeted each other politely like distant acquaintances instead of husband and wife. Madison arrived fashionably late, stunning in a blue dress. She hugged Marlene, handed her a wrapped present, then turned to me. "Claire, thank you for having me." "Of course," I said, smiled. Let her think she was safe. The party filled with people, Marlene's friends, co-workers, family, friends. Patricia arrived and I introduced her as a new friend I'd met recently. No one questioned it. We ate dinner, laughed, toasted Marlene. Everything was perfect and normal, and exactly what a birthday party should be. Then I stood up before we have cake. I said I'd like to share something, a little presentation. "Marlene, honey, this is part of your gift." Marlene looked confused, but pleased. "Mom, you didn't have to. I wanted to." I picked up the remote, turned on the TV. "Everyone, if you could gather in the living room for just a moment." They filed in, curious, unsuspecting. Madison stood near the back next to Logan. I watched them exchange a glance. Brief, the first flicker of concern. Marlene stood in front, excited to see what her mother had prepared. I pressed play. The screen filled with text, the truth about Madison Carter. Marlene's smile faltered. "Mom, what just watched, sweetheart?" The presentation began. Started with the affair, photos of Logan and Madison entering hotels, time stamps, vacations, undeniable evidence. The room went silent. Marlene's face drained of color. He turned to look at Madison, then Logan, then back at the screen. "No," she whispered. "No, this isn't." But it was, and the presentation continued. Text messages between them projected large enough for everyone to read. Explicit messages. Planning messages, messages about me. "She has no idea. And this is easier than I thought. And soon we can stop pretending." Then came Madison's history, the professor, the lawyer, the pattern laid out in clear chronological detail. Patricia stepped forward. "That's me," she said, pointing to a photo on screen. "My husband, what she did to my family." Madison had gone white. "This is you can't." "I can," I said calmly. "It's all true, all documented, all real." Logan was trying to reach Marlene, who jerked away from him like he'd burned her. "Marlene, please let me explain." "Explain?" Marlene's voice cracked. "Explain what?" "That you've been sleeping with my best friend. That you both lied to me." "Marlene, I'm sorry, I never meant." Madison started. "Don't." Marlene's voice was sharp as glass. "Don't you dare talk to me." The presentation continued. More evidence, more history. Madison's deleted social media posts recovered and displayed photos of her with other married men. Evidence of her systematic rebranding, her calculated infiltration into our family. The room was dead silent except for the presentation's audio, me narrating the timeline, explaining each piece of evidence with clinical precision. Some guests had started recording on their phones. I'd expected that. Welcomed it. This needed to spread beyond this room. When the presentation ended, the screen went black. I turned on the lights. Madison was crying. "You have no right. This is defamation. I'll sue you for what." Catherine Morrison stepped out from where she'd been standing near the back. I hadn't mentioned I'd invited my attorney for telling the truth. "Everything in that presentation is documented fact. You're welcome to try suing. But discovery would be fascinating." Madison's mouth snapped shut. Logan was staring at me like he'd never seen me before. "Claire, why would you do this? Why here? Why in front of Marlene?" "Because Marlene deserved to know the truth," I said. "Because she was going to find out eventually, and I wanted her to hear it from me with evidence, so she couldn't be manipulated by your lies anymore. You ambushed us like Madison ambushed me." My voice rose for the first time, like she orchestrated my discovery, like she smiled at me while I found you in our bed. Marlene made a sound, a sob that seemed to come from somewhere deep and broken. She smiled, I confirmed, because this was never just an affair, Marlene. This was a calculated plan to take over my life, to push me out and step into my place. Look at the evidence, look at her history. This is what she does. Marlene turned to Madison. "Is that true? Were you trying to?" Madison's tears had stopped, her face was hardening, the mask was cracking, revealing something cold underneath. You have no idea what it's like, she said, growing up with nothing, watching everyone else have perfect families, perfect lives, yet everything, Marlene. Everything I never had, so you tried to steal it. Marlene's voice was shaking. You pretended to be my friend while sleeping with my father while planning to destroy my family. I wasn't trying to destroy it, I was trying to be part of it by replacing my mother. Madison's silence was answer enough. Marlene turned to Logan and you. How could you do this to Mom? To me, Marlene, I made a terrible mistake. Marlene laughed, harsh and bitter. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. This is she couldn't finish. Turned to me. Mom, I'm so sorry I brought her into our lives. I trusted her. I thought, this is not your fault, I said firmly, going to her. None of this is your fault. You trusted people you loved. That's not wrong. They're the ones who betrayed that trust. I held my daughter while she cried over her shoulder. I watched the other guests disgust. Several of Logan's business partners were looking at him with expressions that said his professional reputation had just taken a hit. Madison's co-workers were whispering phones out already, texting others at their company. The exposure was complete. Patricia approached Madison. I told you someone would stop you eventually. I told you this would catch up with you. Madison looked at her with pure hatred. You bitter old. Careful, Catherine said. There are witnesses. And unlike what's on that screen, actual defamation has consequences. Madison grabbed her purse. I'm leaving. Good idea, I said. And Madison, if you contact my daughter, my husband, or me ever again, I'll get a restraining order and I'll make sure every employer in this city knows exactly what you do to families. You can't do that. I can and I will. You've built your life on hiding your pattern. I'm going to make sure it follows you everywhere. She left, the door slammed behind her. Several guests left shortly after, uncomfortable with the wreckage they'd witnessed, but some stayed. Marlene's real friends, people who cared about her, about the truth. Logan stood alone in the center of the room. Claire, he said, can we talk privately? No, anything you need to say can be said in front of our daughter. He looked at Marlene. I love you, I know I've hurt you terribly, but you're my daughter, and I love you more than anything, just not more than you wanted, Madison. Marlene said quietly, that's not, it wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Dad, help me understand how you could do this. He had no answer, no explanation that wouldn't sound hollow. Catherine, I said, can you give Logan the papers? Catherine pulled an envelope from her bag, handed it to Logan. You've been served. Divorce proceedings begin Monday. His hands shook as he took it. Claire, please don't do this. We can work through this counseling time. Whatever you need. What I need is a divorce. What I need is to never see you again outside of legal proceedings. What I need is for you to leave my house. This is my house too, not for long. Catherine has filed for an emergency order. Given the evidence of your infidelity and financial irregularities, I'm confident the judge will grant me temporary occupancy. You have 24 hours to collect your essential belongings. Everything else will be handled through attorneys. His face crumpled. You're really doing this? You did this when you made the choice to betray me every day for 3 months. Sorry, 6 months, since that's the real timeline. You made the choice. This is just the consequence. He looked around the room at the guests who remained, all watching him with varying degrees of judgment, at Marlene, who wouldn't meet his eyes, at me. Standing tall and unmoved, I'll go, he said finally. But Marlene, please call me when you're ready, please. Marlene said nothing. He left with his shoulders slumped, looking 20 years older than when he'd arrived. The remaining guests slowly departed, each one stopping to hug Marlene, to tell her they were there if she needed anything, to tell me I was brave, strong, that I'd done the right thing. Finally, it was just Marlene and me, mother and daughter, in the house where she'd grown up, surrounded by the ruins of her birthday party. I'm sorry, I said, I'm so sorry I did it this way, but I needed you to see the truth. I needed you to have evidence so they couldn't twist it, couldn't make you doubt. Mom, he took my hands. Her face was tear-streaked and devastated, but her eyes were clear. You protected me. You could have told me weeks ago, made it my burden to carry, but you carried it alone until you had all the facts. Until you could show me the truth in a way I couldn't deny. I never wanted to hurt you, I know, but Dad and Madison did. They hurt both of us. He pulled me into a hug. I love you, Mom. and I'm so proud of you for being strong enough to do this." We stood there holding each other while my heart broke and mended simultaneously. I'd lost my marriage, but I kept my daughter. I kept the one thing that mattered most. "Can I stay here tonight?" Marlene asked. "I don't want to be alone." "You can stay as long as you want. This is your home." We cleaned up the party debris together, threw away plates of uneaten cake, put away decorations, erased the physical evidence of the worst birthday party in history. "Madison and I are done," Marlene said while we worked. "I never want to see her again. I understand all those years thought she was my best friend. I told her everything, and the whole time she was." Marlene's voice broke. "How do I trust anyone again? The same way I will carefully. But not everyone is like them. Most people are good, honest. We just have to be more careful about who we let close." Marlene nodded. "I'm going to need therapy." "Me too. We'll find someone good. We'll work through this together." Together. My phone buzzed. A text from Logan. "I'm sorry for everything. You deserved better." I deleted it without responding. Another text from a number I didn't recognize. "You're going to regret this. Making me look bad won't change what happened." Madison from a different number, still unable to accept responsibility. I forwarded the text to Catherine with a note: "Add to harassment file," then blocked the number. Marlene and I stayed up late talking. She cried. I cried. We ate ice cream straight from the container and watched stupid movies and slowly began the process of healing. Around 2 in the morning, Marlene fell asleep on the couch. I covered her with a blanket. Watched her asleep like I used to when she was small. Then I went upstairs to the bedroom. I'd avoided it since that day, sleeping in the guest room. But it was time. I opened the door, turned on the light. The bed was still made. I'd never touched it after the room looked normal, innocent, like nothing terrible had happened here. I stripped the bed, every sheet, every pillowcase, carried them downstairs, and shoved them in the trash, not the laundry, the trash. Some things couldn't be cleaned. Then I went back upstairs and opened Logan's closet, started pulling out clothes, piling them on the floor. He had 24 hours to collect his things. I was going to make it easy for him. Everything of his in one pile, ready to go. In the back of his closet, I found a box. Small velvet. My heart seized. A ring box. I opened it. Inside was a necklace, white gold, delicate, with a small diamond pendant, tasteful. There was a receipt in the box, purchased 3 weeks ago, the same day he'd brought me flowers. My hands shook. The necklace wasn't for me, I'd received flowers. This was for her. Except now there was no her. Their relationship was exposed, destroyed. He couldn't give it to Madison now, so he'd probably try to give it to me. A peace offering, a reconciliation gift, hoping I'd never know it was meant for someone else. The calculation of it, the coldness, it clarified everything. I put the necklace back in the box, placed it on top of the pile of his clothes. He could have it, could give it to whoever he wanted. Meant nothing to me. I finished clearing his things, bathroom products, books from his nightstand, pictures where he appeared into a box ready for him to take. I was erasing him from my space, from my life. It took hours by the time I finished. The sun was rising. The bedroom looked different, but also cleaner, like I'd removed something toxic. I made the bed with fresh sheets, lay down, and waited to feel something. Sadness, regret, grief, for the marriage I'd lost, that I felt relief, and somewhere underneath the exhaustion and pain, something else, freedom. The next few weeks moved in a blur of legal proceedings, therapy sessions, and slow reconstruction. Logan came to collect his things. I wasn't there. Catherine advised against it. Marlene wasn't there either. She temporarily moved in with me, unable to face being alone. Unwilling to see her father yet, he left a note on the kitchen counter. "I'll regret this for the rest of my life. I'm sorry I threw away everything for something that meant nothing. You deserved better. Marlene deserved better. I hope someday you can both forgive me." I read it once. Put it in a folder labeled Divorce Miscellaneous. Felt nothing. The video from Marlene's party had spread, not virally. I'd asked the guests not to post publicly, and most had respected that. But within our social circle, within Logan's business circle, within Madison's professional circle, it had made the rounds. Logan's business partners distanced themselves from him. Not officially, he still worked there, but the dynamic had shifted. trust was broken, his judgment was questioned. Several clients requested different account managers. Madison was fired from her job, Marlene told me quietly, without satisfaction. Hostile work environment, Marlene explained. Several people said they couldn't work with her after seeing what she'd done. AR decided it was easier to let her go. How do you feel about that? I asked. I don't know. Part of me thinks she deserves it. Part of me feels guilty for feeling that way. She made her choices. These are the consequences. Madison tried to contact Marlene several times. Calls, texts showing up at Marlene's apartment. Marlene blocked her number. Got a restraining order when Madison wouldn't stop. She keeps saying I don't understand. Marlene told me after one particularly upsetting incident that she was just trying to have a family, that she loved me, like a sister and dad, like she couldn't finish. She's rewriting history. I said making herself the victim. Do not. At first, arguing that the house was marital property and the split should be equal, Catherine destroyed that argument with the financial records. The money he'd been moving, the gifts he'd bought, Madison charged to joint credit cards, the hotel rooms, everything. The judge was not sympathetic. I got the house, the majority of our savings, and a fair spousal support arrangement. Logan got what was left of his reputation and the apartment he'd been renting. He's asking if you'd meet with him. Catherine told me after one hearing, says he needs closure. Tell him no, he can get closure from a therapist. She smiled. Already did. Marlene started therapy, individual sessions to process the betrayal, the broken trust, the complicated grief of losing a friend and watching her parents' marriage dissolve. I went to different therapists, similar issues. You did something extraordinary, my therapist. Dr. Wells said during one session, most people stay, hide the truth. You exposed it. I humiliated them publicly. You held them accountable publicly. There's a difference, is there? Sometimes I wonder if I went too far, if I should have handled it privately. Would private have protected future victims from Madison's pattern? Would it have given Marlene the evidence she needed to understand this wasn't her fault? No, then you did what you needed to do, not out of cruelty, out of truth. I wanted to believe that most days I did. Other days I wondered if I'd become as cruel as Madison, just in a different way. But then I'd remember the smile, that victorious, calculated smile. And I'd know I'd done the right thing. 3 months post-exposure year, I got a call from Patricia, the lawyer's wife. 2 other women contacted me. She said they saw the video. They'd been involved with Madison. 2 different times, different cities, same pattern. They want to know if we're building a case. A case for what? I don't know exactly. Maybe a civil suit, maybe just a public warning. But they want to help document her history. Make sure it's out there for anyone who Googles her name. She could sue for defamation, not if it's true, and we have proof, all of us. I thought about it, about whether more exposure, more revenge, more public shaming would help or just perpetuate the cycle. Let me think about it, I said finally. But Claire, thank you for what you did. You gave the rest of us permission to stop being silent after she hung up. I sat with that, the idea that my revenge, my justice, my truth had empowered others. Was that worth the pain of the method? I still wasn't sure. Marlene got a promotion at work, new department, away from the people who'd witnessed the drama afresh professionally. I'm thinking of moving, she told me, over dinner one night, not far, but into my own place. Actually making my apartment feel like home instead of a temporary stop. That's good, I said, meaning it even as my heart hurt at the thought of her leaving again. You could come with me. She offered, get a place together, fresh start for both of us. I considered it, leaving the house, leaving the memories, starting completely over. But no, this is my house, I said. I'm not going to let what happened here drive me away. I'm going to reclaim it, make it mine again. That's brave or stubborn, both. Marlene said, smiling. Definitely both. 6 months after the exposure, the divorce was finalized. Catherine called with the news, it's done. You're officially single. The word felt strange after 19 years of being partnered, defined in relation to someone else. I was just myself. How do you feel? Catherine asked. Free, I said. Meant it. I redecorated the bedroom, new paint, new furniture, new everything, erased every trace of Logan until it was just my space, my I started dating casually, nothing serious, just remembering what it felt like to be seen as a woman, not just a wife or mother. Marlene thrived, made new friends. Started seeing a guy from her new department, kind, stable, completely unconnected to the wreckage of the past, and slowly, painfully, we both healed. 1 year after I opened that bedroom door, I was in a coffee shop when I saw her, Madison. She looked different, thinner, harder, her hair was shorter, darker. But I'd know that face anywhere. He was with a man, older, wedding ring visible. They were sitting close, talking intently, and I watched her lean in and touch his arm with practiced ease. The pattern was repeating. Our eyes met across the cafe, recognition flickered in hers, then something else, that same cold calculation I'd seen in our bedroom. She smiled, not victorious this time, but not ashamed either. It was a smile that said, "You didn't break me, you didn't stop me, I'm still here." My first instinct was rage, the urge to walk over, to warn the man, to expose her again. But I didn't, because I understood something. In that moment, Madison would always be Madison. She'd keep doing this, keep targeting families, keep trying to take what others had built, and I couldn't spend my life following her around, warning people. I couldn't let her occupy any more of my time, my energy, my life. She'd already taken enough. Had I smiled back, not the wounded smile of a victim, not the bitter smile of someone still trapped in the past, a smile of someone who'd survived, who'd fought back, who'd rebuilt, a smile that said, "You wanted my life, you tried to take my place. But I'm still here, stronger, free, and you're still doing the same thing, chasing the same hollow victory." A smile that said, "I won." I stood, gathered my things and walked past her table without a word, left the coffee shop, left her to her next victim, her next scheme, her next attempt to fill whatever circulation. Drove her because she wasn't my problem anymore. I drove home to the house I'd reclaimed, to the life I'd rebuilt. Marlene was coming for dinner. I was making her favorite pasta. We were going to watch a movie and laugh and just exist in the peace we'd fought so hard to create in the driveway. I sat for a moment in my car, looked at my house, my home, the place where everything had fallen apart and where I'd slowly put the pieces back together. It wasn't the same as it had been. I wasn't the same. The cracks were still visible if he knew where to look, but cracks let the light in, and I was full of light now, hard-won, battle-tested light. I'd walked in on my husband and my daughter's best friend. I'd seen Madison's smile, that cruel, victorious smile, and it had nearly destroyed me, but only nearly, because I'd chosen to fight back, to expose the truth, to refuse to be erased. I'd lost a marriage. But I kept my dignity, my daughter, and most importantly myself, and in the end that was everything. I got out of the car and locked my front door, walked into my house with my head high behind me. The past stayed where it belonged, ahead of me. The future waited, uncertain, yes, but mine. And as I started cooking dinner, preparing for an evening with my daughter, I caught my reflection in the kitchen window. I was smiling, not with pain, not with bitterness, with peace, with power, with the quiet knowledge that I'd survived the unsurvivable and come out stronger. Madison had smiled at me in that bedroom, thinking she'd won. But this time I was the one smiling, and this time it was real. That's all for today's story. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. If you have any suggestions, please leave a comment in the comments section. See you in the next video.